Let's continue here on Boxtorow. We are joined by a gentleman. As a matter of fact, he's in his second season as the head men's basketball coach at Kansas State. The Kansas State right now 15-9. The Wildcats 15-9 on the season. 5-6 in Big 12 play. Got a game on Saturday. As a matter of fact, before that, he spent 20 seasons as an assistant coach at Baylor, part of the national championship team in 2021. He is the pride of San Fernando, Trinidad and Tobago. He's Jerome Tang. He joins us here on Boxtorow. What's going on, Coach Tang?
Man, I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to have you. I want to start here, just kind of get your thoughts on the season to this point.
We are plugging away. Whenever you put a new group together, it takes a while for everybody to get on the same page. We faced some adversity with some injuries and, losing a really vital part of our team. But the guys have been so resilient and just continuing to move forward. We say, our goal is to go 1-0 in every aspect of the day. And I feel like I got a group that's trying to do that. And, we've won 6 overtime games, which shows to their toughness, their resilience, their belief, their ability to execute in pressure situations. We've lost another 2 or 3 that have been really close games. So, I feel like we are in the right direction. In this league we play in the Big 12, which is the best basketball league in the country. If you can go 9-9 in conference, you should be in the NCAA tournament, no doubt. And so that's been our focus, and feel like we're on track for that.
No doubt about it. And you and I were sort of talking about, a little bit about the Big 12, and just before we came on, and how tough, it really, really is. Can you speak to sort of how it's changed? I mean, all conference play is tough across conferences, right? But like, to your point, an even record, maybe even slightly under 500, what could get you into the tournament?
Yeah, no, I was talking with some other coaches and listening to some of the analytic guys with the numbers, and Iowa State got in a couple of years ago with 7-11, and this year 7-11 or 8-10 could get you in. I just know that with our team, we've locked in on let's get 9-9, let's get 9 conference wins and take it one game at a time. But over the last 10 years, we've had multiple teams get to the Final Four. Texas Tech and Oklahoma, and I mean just on down. Kansas and Baylor both winning national championships, which I was blessed to be a part of. And so we got great coaches, Hall of Fame coaches, man. When you add Houston, to your conference, and Kelvin Sampson down there, and that's another team that's been to the Final Four in the last few years, and the great basketball environments that we play in. This is a basketball league, right? I mean, it is a basketball league with fan bases that appreciate the game. And so every night you're playing in front of packed houses and Hall of Fame coaches on the other end, and lottery picks on everybody's roster. So, there's back when I was a kid growing up, it was, the Big East was rolling a little bit, and, with Georgetown and John Thompson and those guys. And then the ACC kind of rose up. But, if you're a kid today, the conference you want to play in is the Big 12.
Yeah, no doubt about it. For you, let me take you back to last week. It's a big win. I mean, all wins in the Big 12 are big wins. It's a big win, overtime win last week against Kansas. Like, absolutely huge. And I might add, after 4 straight losses, again, Big 12 play is tough. Take us through that. One of the overtime victories you mentioned over a tough Kansas, a rivalry game, of course.
Yeah, no, that game is super important to our fans. I know that. And our alumni, it just carries extra weight. We as a team, we try to, focus on every game, go 1-0, and win or lose, we put it in the box and move on. But I understand how important that is to our fans. So it was huge to win that at home, and for the second year in a row, and both times in overtime. And so really proud. I feel like, it really enhances our resume. And we just have to keep figuring out how we're going to, win our home games and see if we can steal one on the road at some point in time.
Jerome Tang, again in his second season as the head men's basketball coach at Kansas State. He joins us here on Boxtorow. Coach Tang, if I could take you back a little bit to last year and your first season, making the run to the Elite Eight in year one. And it's interesting because I watched this K-State team, and yeah, you may have bowed out, a little bit earlier than you would have liked in the Big 12 tournament. But again, we talked about the Big 12 and how tough it is. Speak to that run that you and the Wildcats were able to make in your first season.
Yeah, well, the situation at the Big 12 tournament, you know how they say styles make fights, and there are just some styles that just are not a good fight for you. And TCU with Mike Miles and that group last year, that was just not a good matchup for us. And so, we got beat in the Big 12 tournament. But what it did, it gave us a couple of days to regroup before the NCAA tournament. And, just that our group was so excited to play. And the hardest game to win in the tournament is the first one. And so with, playing a really good Montana State team that it was in a tournament the year before that had played another Big 12 team that had finished third, the year before, those guys had a lot of motivation and we was able to get that win. And then, having some New York City kids, we have 4 kids from New York on our roster. And with the chance to, beat Kentucky, to go to Madison Square Garden, to go home for those guys, I knew we'd be motivated. And when you have a great point guard like Marquise Noel and a great player like Keontae Johnson, you got 2 All-Americans on your roster. It ain't about the coaching. It's about players making plays. And, that Kentucky game, it was, the Marquise Noel, Keontae Johnson show. And it was awesome. The team stepped up. We got to go to New York and play a really good Michigan State team and in Madison Square Garden. And, that's things that those guys, they dreamt about doing. Naquan Tomlin dreamt about playing in Madison Square Garden. Marquise Noel dreamt about it. It's Masood, Tyke, Green dreamt about that stuff. And so for them to be back home and be able to play that game and in front of that crowd, and it be that kind of game, right? Like a overtime game, Keontae, Marquise throws a lob to Keontae, he dunks it backwards, and then we come up with a defensive stop. It was awesome. Now I fell a little short with Florida Atlantic, but hats off to Florida Atlantic because they took care of business and they gave their best when their best was required, and we fell a little bit short on that. But so proud of those guys, man. So proud of what we did and the groundwork that was laid, and now the goal is to build on that, and because we believe we can win a national championship here at Kansas State.
Jerome Tang, again, the head men's basketball coach at K-State, joins us here on the program. What's this week been like? It's a little bit different, right? Because you generally would have, you'd have a Saturday game, then a weekday game, maybe Tuesday or Wednesday, but you played last week. You don't play again till this upcoming Saturday against TCU. Is that do you like that? I mean, you seem to have been in a rhythm. Is it good to kind of have a little bit of a reprieve, if you will?
If we beat TCU on Saturday, I'm going to tell you that I really like this break. And if we don't, I'll be like, man, I did. Us coaches, man, it all depends on what happens with those games. But, sometimes it's kind of like playing a big Monday game. Then you get to give you guys a couple of days off before you prepare for the Saturday game. Well, this gave us one extra day or so to give them, to recover. And then, today, they got some shooting, some lifting in, and we'll get started on the game plan tomorrow. And but the break in the middle, I can't tell you if I like it or don't like it. It's the first time we've had one in years, and so I'll know how it works out. I know, like right now, everybody's a little banged up, so any kind of extra rest you can get is good.
Cam Carter, I got to talk about him because he started obviously for you last year, but I mean he's a young man that's leading your team in scoring at 15.9 points per game. He averaged in single digits last year, understandably so, because he had some guys that were in front of him. But can you speak to the jump that he's made from last year to this year?
Yeah, no, what Cam did is really embrace the role that was going to be available for him. He saw what Marquise and Keontae did on a daily basis on how they prepared and how they worked. And when those guys left, he was not afraid to step into those shoes and take on the responsibility. And I told him, like, he went from being a player last year to being a weapon this year, and at the top of everyone's scouting report. And to be at the top of people's scouting report and be able to deliver, I mean, you're doing something at this level. And so very proud of his work ethic, very proud of his focus, his approach, and there's still better basketball for him to be played moving forward.
And then your thoughts as you host TCU on Saturday. Your thoughts on TCU.
Man, they are one of the oldest teams in college basketball. They have weapons at every position. They can, um, they have great size, so they can switch, and take away a lot of your actions. Their defense was like, because they can score so well early on. I don't know that they was focused defensively, but Jamie's done a great job recently of emphasizing that. And I watched what they did to West Virginia last night, and it didn't look pretty. And so we have our work cut out for us. It's going to be a hard fought game, but when we play the Octagon of Doom, man, I like our chances.
Couple more thoughts with Jerome Tang, the head men's basketball coach at K-State. Coach Tang, I mentioned, when we came on, the pride of San Fernando, Trinidad, and Tobago. Growing up there, and I think I read where you moved to the U.S. Virgin Islands, St. Thomas, to be specific. Yeah. Did you grow up wanting to be a college basketball coach?
No, I was born in Trinidad. I was there till I was 3, and then we moved to St. Croix in the Virgin Islands, right? And everybody hears St. Thomas. St. Croix is really the place you want to go visit. All right, if you want to really feel what the island is like, yeah, go. Let's go to St. Croix.
St. Croix. All right.
Right. Yeah. That's it. And so lived in St. Croix till I was 10, and I still go back there as often as possible. If it wasn't for COVID, I'd been back every summer with my kids and my wife. We just love it there. And so I can't tell you I grew up wanting to be a basketball coach, but in 1979 I watched Magic Johnson play Larry Bird for the NCAA championship, and I fell in love with college basketball. And since that time, I've always wanted to try and be a part of it in some shape or form. I wasn't good enough as a player to play Division I basketball, but I was still passionate about the game and just kept getting better as a player. And while I was getting better, I was learning that you could get better and you could teach others to get better, and realized that I wanted that's the role I wanted to help somebody else reach their dream. And God opened the door for me to be able to be a high school coach for 10 years at a Christian school in Cleveland, Texas, where I was also the youth pastor at the church. And my ministry is basketball, and it's sharing the gospel in different forms of fashion. God just moved me from behind a pulpit to a basketball court, and I did that for 10 years at Heritage Christian, and God moved me to Baylor, and I was there for 19, and I was willing to be there as long as he wanted me to be there. And then he opened the door for me to be here at Kansas State. And so it's still a ministry, right? It's still a ministry. Just happened to do it on a basketball court. And these young men, God's given them great platforms. And if we can give them the foundation that they need to withstand the pressures of this platform, then they're going to have a presence that they can impact other people's lives moving forward.
I think that's interesting, mentioning being behind the pulpit. So can you speak to how, and I know you mentioned behind the pulpit, this is your ministry in terms of basketball as well. Can you also speak to how you're able to share your faith with others?
Yeah, I heard a pastor a long time ago, I think it was Billy Graham, that said, every day preach the gospel and sometimes use words, right? And that's the thing. It's like, it's not about what we tell these dudes. It's about what they see us live and how they see us love each other, how they see us be patient and kind to each other, how they see us be accepting of each other. And because that's what, Jesus called us to do. He said, all men would know that you're my disciples if you love one another, not if you judge one another, not if you correct one another, not if you try to get everybody to fit in a certain box. It's just loving people. And so my staff and I, we try to let our guys see what it is to be a good husband, what it looks like, and to be a good father, and to, just to bring it every day, be present, right? And if we can have young men who are going to grow up and they're going to be there for their families, right? When things are tough, they're going to make the next right decision, because that's what tough people do. When things aren't going the way they want, they're not going to quit. They're going to keep fighting, be committed to the decisions they've made. And then we're going to have men who are going to be there for their children and raise the next generation of families. And that, to me, is is the gospel that I share.
Beautiful. 10 years as an assistant, 20 years as an assistant at Baylor, with the last, I guess, 5 or so as the associate head coach. Did you ever think this opportunity was going to come, that you'd be a head coach, specifically at the Division I level?
But, I always wanted to be one. And I think I even was trying, right? Like trying to figure out how to get it done. But it wasn't until I was willing to tell God that I didn't need to be a head coach. Right? It wasn't, Lord, if you want me to be an assistant for the rest of my life, I'm okay with that. It was about 3 or 4 years ago that I did that. And I even told them, if you want me to stop coaching and go into another form of ministry, I'm okay with that too. Right? Whatever it is you have for me, I'm okay with, because I am secure in who I am as a man. I didn't need that title. I didn't need, to be the guy on the sideline. I didn't need that, because being a good husband, being a good father, being a man of God, and impacting people's lives, I was fulfilled and secure. I didn't need to win the national championship. I didn't need to win the Big 12 championship. Those were just icing on the cake, right? Like I didn't need it. I was secure. And when I was able to come to that point in my life, God then said, okay, now you're ready. And he opened the door for me. And my goal is to point to these guys' lives and to help my staff reach their goals and dreams. Right? This thing is not about me. It's about my staff. It's about our players. It's about showing that there's a way that we can use this platform that God's given us for more than just wins and losses and celebrity status and things like that, but to really impact the next generation.
Some last thoughts, Coach Tang, because I want to respect the time. I think this is a great conversation. I'd like to know, what are you learning sort of about yourself in now your second season as the head men's coach there at Kansas State?
Yeah, I'm learning that, like, my plan and how I want things to go are not necessarily the best way or the best timing of things. That every team, every season, and with the changing landscape of college basketball, where you don't necessarily get guys for 3 or 4 years, right? And there's a revolving door that you have to take each one, each player, and then each team as their own entity, and figure out what makes them click, right? And figure out the timing. We're doing teaching in January and February because we don't get guys till August. You know what I mean? And normally you're not teaching, you're just refining stuff. But we're still teaching because we got new guys. And so I can't be impatient. And I have to like uh, give more leash to some of the guys and the team to allow the mistakes to be made, so that then we can help them continue to move forward. And also, this thing is not easy, man. And I tell us that we want to celebrate wins, man, and don't let wins go to our head, and don't let losses go to our hearts, man, and then just keep getting better. Going 1-0 in every aspect of it, and it's challenging to me because, like, I feel like I can fix everything, but there's some things that can't be fixed. You just have to let them be the way they are and figure out the things that you can, and then allow the team to keep moving forward.
And then winning the national championship as the associate head coach, you were obviously recruited quite a few of those players. And by the way, for those that don't know, Coach Tang is 3-0 against Baylor as a head coach.
Yeah, that's all players. That's not me. That's the players doing their thing. But the wonderful thing about Scott Drew is that he never made you feel like you were an assistant, or you were an associate, or you were or whatever. He always made it feel like we were all part of something special, doing it together, right? And he didn't take the credit for it. So, winning the national championship, I felt like I was the coach that won the national championship, and he made everyone feel that way. And he still does. And I hope that I can have that kind of an impact, and give my staff and our players that kind of a feel that this is their program, that they own this program. I just happen to be a part of it, and we all are a part of it moving forward. And so, yeah, man, one of the best experiences of my life, but because it didn't define me, it's just something that I could celebrate. What defines me is my relationship with Jesus Christ, and that I'm a good husband and a good father. Those are the things that I want to define me.
Very well said. And then last thought, UVI. Do you keep up? Like UVI is in the, as you know, in the Gulf Coast Athletic Conference. I don't know how much basketball, how important. I don't know if that's the correct. But anyway, how it was when you were coming up in terms of basketball, the emphasis, I should say, that was placed on it. But you know, they're doing their thing in the Gulf Coast Athletic Conference now.
Well, I knew that they had gotten in a new conference and they've got a new coach and because one of the guys on my staff, Marco Bourne, is a big NAIA guy and he pays attention to it. So so I mean we pay attention to all the basketball. Now growing up, I wasn't a basketball guy. I didn't know in St. Croix I wasn't into basketball necessarily, or we played a bunch of different sports, soccer, cricket, all kind of things. And so I didn't become a basketball guy until I came over here. And so I do know that we are playing in St. Thomas next year for that tournament that they have right before Thanksgiving, right around Thanksgiving time. And looking forward to Dream Dowling, who's also from St. Croix, and me and my family going back and just having a great time there on the islands. We played in it when I was at Baylor in 2007 and we won it. And I'm looking forward to going back to it again.
Jerome Tang again in his second season as the head men's basketball coach at Kansas State. The Wildcats going to be at home on Saturday hosting TCU. Coach Tang, we appreciate the time. Continued success to you and the Wildcats.
Man, thank you very much for having me on. This was a pleasure. God bless, and looking forward to doing this again soon.